Stain markers, touch-up markers, furniture repair markers, it doesn't matter what they're called, but they're an important part of a toolkit for repairing furniture. I'm going to walk you through a selection that I purchased at a typical hardware store and some that I got from a specialized supplier as well. I'm going to show you why these markers are so effective, how to use them, and compare the products so you can choose the right one for your workshop.
As a furniture repair business, we're opening the doors to our workshop to show you the tools and techniques to repair furniture.
What I need to do is take that apart, repair it, and put it back together so I can get this chair in working order.
We give you tips to make your repair projects easier. Let's get into the workshop and start fixing furniture.
I'm going to start by dealing with a typical objection to stain markers. Some people don't feel this is a tool for furniture repair. Well, I disagree, and so does industry. If you own a car, there's a touch-up paint stick for it. These are made by the manufacturers to deal with the small nicks and dings that sometimes happen. If you have a stone chip in the hood of your car, you can touch up the paint, rather than getting the whole hood repainted. It's the exact same thing for the furniture industry. When manufacturers finish their pieces and they're packing them, there might be an opportunity for a small ding to happen, and that's where a touch-up marker comes in. The coating companies that provide the finishes for the manufacturers often provide stain markers that will match the finish that they're providing. There's also a whole industry of companies that provide stain markers specifically for manufacturers. And that is starting to come to consumers. These three products I bought at my local hardware store: Minwax, Trade Secret, and Rejuvenate. These are Mohawk finishes. These I bought at a specialty supplier. Another source for stain markers is the furniture manufacturers themselves. They often have touch-up kits that they send out to service technicians, so you can reach out to the manufacturer and get the stain that's the exact match for the furniture. I've got this chair here that's got a relatively beat-up back on it, so we're going to use this as a test. Full disclosure, I haven't used all these stain markers before, so we'll see how each of them perform on this specific chair. The first thing I need to do is match the stain marker to the finish. And in some cases, I have one stain marker that will get close to the finish. In other cases, I've got a variety of colors. So I'm going through and just making sure I've got the closest match for this particular finish. Now that I have a color match on all four of these markers, let's take a close-up look and see how they perform. I've got these labeled Minwax, Trade Secret, Mohawk, and Rejuvenate. So I'm going to go through these one at a time and we'll see how they work. So it's typical of a stain marker to put the stain on and then wipe the surrounding area. But for some reason, this Minwax stick really just appears like it's taking Minwax stain and putting it on the piece. So for that one, I'm just going to put it on. Now for the Trade Secret, I'm going to choose this spot right here to cover up the spot. And that's fairly exposed and bare wood. So the process I'm using is just dabbing it on. Wipe off the surrounding area. Now for the Mohawk. Wipe it on. Wipe it off. And then the Rejuvenate. The Minwax right here didn't cover as well as I thought. When I put the stain on, I thought it looked pretty good, but it absorbed in a fair bit. The next one is the Trade Secret, and it's right here. And it absorbed in as well. Not as strong as what we've got in the Mohawk. This was almost like a one coat coverage. Now with the Trade Secret, I have been using this marker, so it might be that I need to replace the marker. And then down here on the Rejuvenate, this is one coat coverage. Looks pretty good. It looks like there's a little spot there that needs a second coat. So if I were looking at the winner of this one, I would say Mohawk, in terms of applying and wiping that off, would be the best performance. Okay, we'll try it again on the back of the crest rail. Now just to be clear, this is damage beyond what you should be using for a touch-up marker, but it's a good area for me to test out these in an example where you can see them side by side. Here we've got Minwax. And this gives you a better idea up close of how runny that is. You see the stain there? So I just need to dab that so it's not going to run away on me. Put a little bit more up here. Okay, the next one is the trade secret. And wipe the excess off. Perhaps a little too much off. Okay, I'll just touch up the finish there. And then the next one is the Mohawk. And then the last one is the Rejuvenate. Okay, so what are your thoughts on that? So my thoughts on this crest rail: the Minwax was hard to apply, very runny. The trade secret, well, it wasn't too bad, might need another coat. The Mohawk went on fairly consistently, one coat. And the Rejuvenate, the color seems a little bit off there. Almost like it's not a true wood tone. So from putting it on, it went on fairly well. There's a bit of a spot there, needs a second coat, but the color seems to be a little bit off. I just realized I made a critical mistake in testing these. This trade secret marker I've been using in my service repair kit for over a year, and it's not quite as juicy as the other ones. So in all fairness, I need to get a new one. There's a challenge right now with COVID, there's a shortage of supplies, and I can't get them at my local store, so it's going to be a week or two before I can get them. But thanks to the magic of video, I can get a new one, just like this. It's now 2 weeks later, and I have the supplies that I was looking for. Now, it's actually been a good thing that that's happened. I've had a change in inventory, and I've had a chance to use some of these stain markers that I hadn't used before on real furniture that I'm repairing in my workshop. So let's take a look and see how these new juicy markers compare with the rest. On this upholstered chair I'm repairing, I've got some corner blocks here that are fully finished. So this is a great opportunity for me to put some scratches in here and test out the touch-up markers. So I'm just going to cut some scratches in here. And what this is doing is just taking off a bit of the finish and exposing some of the bare wood. And then what I'll do is put the labels on and we'll test the markers out. So let's try these out and see how they work. So for the Minwax, because it's runnier, I've learned that I have to let that one sit a little bit. So I'll move on to the trade secret. Put this on here and then rub it off. So for these three markers here, you need to wipe the finish off immediately because it takes off the residue on the surface. With the Minwax one, you seem to have to let it sit a little bit. So for the Mohawk, rub it on here and rub it off. And then the Rejuvenate, rub it on there, and then take a clean rag and rub it off. So in a close-up you can see the Minwax here, it seems to have performed the best. The trade secret, not bad. The Mohawk a little bit better than the trade secret. And the Rejuvenate didn't do that well. These examples here show you a flaw on a flat surface, and that's the most difficult flaw to conceal. If you aren't happy with it, the best option is to strip it and start over again. I get comments sometimes from people that are perfectionists and they don't believe in touch-up markers because they don't do a perfect job. Well, that's absolutely true. They're here to touch up flaws. And where you've got dings in a corner of furniture and there's light refracting from different areas, it's very easy to use a touch-up marker to disguise that, and when you're 2 to 3 feet away, you'll never know it's there. But if you look close up, you will. So if you're a perfectionist, you're wanting to strip and refinish a piece. But for touch-up markers, I'll show you a few more examples, and what we'll do is test out the intensity of the color on this piece of Baltic birch. Now I'm testing this on Baltic birch because it's a porous surface, so we're going to see how intense these colors are. We'll start with the Minwax, and what I'll do is just put a stripe across here. So you can see how that's absorbing in as I put it on. So this is the Trade Secret. This is the Mohawk. And this is the Rejuvenate. Here you can see the Minwax spread out a fair bit on this absorbent wood. So it seems less like a touch-up marker and more like a stain marker. It is marketed as both, but it looks more like a stain than a touch-up marker. You can see the intensity of the color in these three, and they don't spread out that much. They're much more intense color, meant to disguise a mark. For the next test, we're going to try it on maple. Maple is a light wood, notoriously difficult to stain dark, so we'll see how these markers perform on such a hard wood. I'll just set my labels at the top here, and then we'll try these again. So this is the Minwax, and you can see there you've got some stain at the end. It's just a very liquid finish. This is the Trade Secret. Here's the Mohawk. And here's the Rejuvenate. Here on the harder wood, you can see the Minwax and the Trade Secret absorbing more by going into the grain. The Mohawk and the Rejuvenate are sitting more on the surface. Now to be clear, I don't think it matters whether a stain marker soaks into the wood or not. I was really just curious about how these markers compared to each other. To compare these on costs, I pay $12 Canadian for the Minwax Stain Marker. I pay $12 Canadian for the Trade Secret 3 markers. This Pro-Mark by Mohawk probably retails around $20. I buy it at wholesale cost. And the Rejuvenate is $9 for this pack of 6 markers. Even though the Rejuvenate package is the cheapest, I don't think it's that practical. And the reason is, there's anywhere from a light maple to a dark espresso. It's unlikely you're going to find a color that's close to what you're looking for. And that's why I like the Trade Secret variety packs. There's a dark package, a medium package, and a light package. And that way, in the pack, you can start with the lightest color and test it out and work to the darker color that gets you the closest to what you're looking for. From a health and safety perspective, you should understand the data safety sheets. And these were available for Trade Secret, Mohawk, and for Minwax, but I had to call Rejuvenate to get theirs, and it doesn't seem to have all the information that the rest of them do, and it's in very small print. But the rest of these three show that these are flammable products, and they should be stored carefully, and they also should be used in a well-ventilated area. Because these markers are flammable, I keep them in a metal container. This is just an old coffee tin, and I also keep them in my flame-proof fire cabinet. I've also got some special markers here, and these are grain tip markers. Mohawk calls them brush tip markers. And these are for graining. So if you're working on a piece that has a variety of color on it, these are very, very fine tips that you can actually mimic the grain pattern. And that helps fool the eye in terms of understanding what it's seeing. If you've got a grain that's disrupted, then you can pick that up visually. But if you use these brush tip markers, you can disguise that. I also find these brush tip markers handy where I'm trying to work in a tight space. Here's an example of a spot that just wouldn't cover off with the marker, but the marker's not fine enough to get into that small spot. So by taking that fine brush tip, I'm able to work in the exact color that I need to cover off that space. After looking at all this, what would I recommend? If you're doing a lot of repair work, I would recommend the Mohawk Pro-Mark. It really is a quality product, and it is the most expensive, so it is an investment to get a variety of colors. If you're only doing the odd repair or you're a homeowner, I would suggest the Trade Secret packages. Because you've got a variety of 3 different colors in a certain tone, it gives you the ability to get the color that matches your project the best. The Minwax touch-up stick, well, it was interesting to work with it. I wouldn't recommend it because it does tend to run. It's not what I would consider a true touch-up marker. It's certainly applying a stain, and if you finish something previously in one of their colors, that would be a good option for you. If you have experience with a variety of stain markers, I'd love to hear your comments. You can contribute to our furniture repair community and help people understand products like this. I'd like to thank our Patreons. Their names are over here. They're contributing to our video production work to make more videos possible like this for you. If you haven't joined us yet, please click over here to subscribe and click on the bell icon, and you'll get notified every time we publish a video. Thanks for watching Fixing Furniture.